The Good News according to the book of Samuel, chapter 3. Now the boy Samuel was ministering to the Lord under Eli. The word of the Lord was rare in those days. Visions were not widespread. At that time, Eli, whose eyesight had begun to grow dim so that he could not see, was laying down in his room. The lamp of God had not yet gone out, and Samuel was lying down in the temple of the Lord, where the ark of God was. Then the Lord called, "Samuel, Samuel," and he said, "Here I am," and ran to Eli, and said, "Here I am, for you called me." But he said, "I did not call, lie down again." So he went and lay down. The Lord called again, "Samuel." Samuel got up and went to Eli, and said, "Here I am, for you called me." But he said, "I did not call, my son, lie down again." Now Samuel did not yet know the Lord, and the word of the Lord had not yet been revealed to him. The Lord called Samuel again a third time, and he got up and went to Eli, and said, "Here I am, for you called me." Then Eli perceived that the Lord was calling the boy. Therefore Eli said to Samuel, "Go lie down, and if he calls you, you shall say, 'Speak, Lord, for your servant is listening.'" So Samuel went and lay down in his place. Now the Lord came and stood there, calling as before, "Samuel, Samuel." And Samuel said, "Speak, for your servant is listening." Then the Lord said to Samuel, "See, I am about to do something in Israel that will make both ears of anyone who hears it tingle. On that day I will fulfill against Eli all that I have spoken concerning his house, from beginning to end. For I have told him that I am about to punish his house forever for the iniquity that he knew, because his sons were blaspheming God, and he did not restrain them. Therefore I swear to the house of Eli that the iniquity of Eli's house shall not be expiated by sacrifice or offering forever." Samuel lay there until morning. Then he opened the doors of the house of the Lord. Samuel was afraid to tell the vision to Eli, but Eli called Samuel and said, "Samuel, my son." He said, "Here I am." Eli said, "What was it that he told you? Do not hide it from me. May God do so to you, and more also, if you hide anything from me of all that he told you." So Samuel told him everything and hid nothing from him. Then he said, "It is the Lord. Let him do what seems good to him." As Samuel grew up, the Lord was with him and let none of his words fall to the ground. And all Israel, from Dan to Beersheba, knew that Samuel was a trustworthy prophet of the Lord. The Lord continued to appear at Shiloh, for the Lord revealed himself to Samuel at Shiloh by the word of the Lord. This story comes to us from the ancient and living words of the Scripture.
I would like to invite the kids from Summer Festival Camp to come forward and have a seat. So as they're getting in their places, Summer Festival Camp is something that we've been doing here for 3 years, I think, since I've come here. Here, you guys can share these mics. There you go. And it is a high energy, really fun. It's been around for about 40 years. It's held at Gustavus Adolphus College currently, and where we are welcomed into this great community. And there are so many great things about this camp, and the kids here today are going to share some of their experiences with you. So one of the things about camp is that we do something called club twice a day. We do it in the morning and then again in the evening. Wyatt, do you want to say something about club?
Sure. They usually play a song that you usually do things like swaying or symbolizing certain sentences to the song. Then a speaker would like come up and talk about God and stuff like that, and then you would go to this thing called door time after.
Okay, Milena, do you have something you want to add to that?
We gotta listen to and hear about a new staff member each time, and we gotta listen to music from the band with our friends.
Yeah, and there's skits and videos and all sorts of crazy things. What was the theme this year? Anybody remember? No, the overall theme of the camp.
Like race cars?
Race cars, racing. We did a lot of things around racing and the checkered flag and stuff like that. So Something that we did a couple mornings, the high school kids did something a little different the first morning, but the other kids do something called Taster's Choice, which was a really big coffee back in the 80s when they named this thing, but they still call it Taster's Choice. Lily, do you want to say something about Taster's Choice?
Yeah, so they had a ton of options for us to do, so we could do things like you could play Mario Kart, you could play volleyball, they had like dodgeball, a ton of like active games, or you could paint nails and do friendship bracelets, which is what I did most of the time. And then we found a volleyball in there, so we just like played around with it a lot, but it was just like ton of fun activities.
The 10 kids that we took couldn't all be here today, and so those that couldn't be here added some things for us. And Grace Utel said, I really enjoyed having the option to do something calm. Doesn't that sound like Grace? We also did a lot of games, and this was our team. Our church group was our team. At high school camp, since we only had 3, we joined Elk River Lutheran, and so they had a bigger group, and so we joined together to play all our games. So do you want to talk about the video and then?
Yeah. So the first morning we had a random bucket of props that we got, and so we had to create a video just using those props, and you had to include every single one from your box. So ours had a turkey costume and a bunch of random hats and a face of one of the leaders. So we created a video about hunting down a turkey, and we then ate the turkey at the end of the video. So that was really fun.
We used all sorts of props from the cafeteria and everything. Our production took longer. We did good. Anybody else talk about games? This was just a small part. Did you want to say something?
Yeah, we played one game of real life Clue, and that was really fun, that we went around to a ton of rooms, and there were people dressed up like the characters from Clue, and you had to figure out puzzles and stuff. And then another day we did record breaking, and so it was like, there were a ton of different activities you could do, and you tried to break the record that they had.
Yeah, and Scarlett wanted everybody to know that when she was playing Clue, she felt like a real detective. They had really hard puzzles in some of the rooms, and it was really fun to work through those. A different place, the victim was still body, and different things for each camp, so we couldn't cheat those of us that went twice. Another thing that we got to do in the afternoons was the kids could pick workshops. And so there were 4 or 5 or 6 workshops offered for both weeks. And I led one of the workshops, so I'm just going to talk about that just a second. Scarlett also said something about the bold woman of the Bible, that she'd never heard of Hagrid in the Bible before. It was Hagar, but she thought it was Hagrid. And I was surprised. I led it on bold women, and I picked Hagar and Deborah. And there was many people from all different faiths. This is an ecumenical camp, so there's Catholics, Methodists, a lot of Lutherans, some non-denominational, who had not heard of those 2 women in the Old Testament, which I found really interesting. Anybody have anything to say about that?
So I did a workshop, and it was like a video 21st century version of the prodigal son. And I just found that really cool because they put it in a version easier for us to understand.
Cool. All right. On Tuesday afternoon is the messy fight. This is a tradition that goes back 40 years, and different substances are used. If you look at the front cover of your bulletin, can you tell what the messy fight was? Anybody? Shaving cream. That is right. So, Scarlett said, we crushed it. Anybody else want to talk about the messy fight? Wow, they sure did that afternoon. It is a mess. It's very fun. All right, silent disco. Wyatt, you're up for that one.
It was pretty cool, but they played 2 songs that most people, like. And then, 30 seconds in there, skipped it, so.
So a silent disco is you put headphones on, and you have 3 channels, and you have 3 DJs in the room, all playing very different music. And so everybody's dancing to the song they want to listen to. And if you take your headphones off, All you hear are people singing at the top of their lungs very badly without any music, because you can't hear the music. And people are line dancing, and they're doing the what do you call the thing? Conga line, thank you. And so that's one of the big highlights, and that happened. Tell them how it happened for high school camp.
Oh, so the videos I talked about before, we went out to the football field and they had one of those like huge inflatable screens, and so we watched all of our videos from each of the different churches. We watched all of them out on the football field, and then at the very end they let the screen like deflate, and then you could only see like the silent disco. So then we all had to go down. It was like on the football field, and everybody was dancing on the football field. So that was fun.
That was fun. We did it inside for middle school camp where there was no mosquitoes or gnats, which was good. Recommended, yes. So each week we had two different speakers, a middle school speaker and a high school speaker. And the speaker would share 6 times with the kids about faith, about their faith, about how they're growing into their faith, and all those edges. Annika, you're up.
Okay, so for high school camp, our speaker's name was Kelsey, and she was amazing. She looked like a real-life Miss Frizzle. So the thing that stuck with me that she talked about was she was constantly saying that we are God's Tov Meod, which means that we are very good, and it's God's way of saying that we are the best of the very, very best. And that really stuck with me, it just makes you feel super important the more you hear that.
Yeah. Izzy also wrote that the speaker said something that hit me really hard. When she was talking about insecurity, she was crushing pop cans in her hand and throwing them aside. Izzy said, when she named the thing I most struggle with, I felt like she saw me and that God saw me. The speaker was very impactful for my camp experience. So we also have the opportunity to make new friends. Not only, the high school camp we joined with Elk River Lutheran, but there's lots of other churches there. Anybody want to talk about that?
So last year I went by myself to camp, which was a terrifying experience, but I made some really good friends with some of the girls at the Elk River Church, and so I got to reconnect with them, and they brought a bunch of more kids this year, so I got to connect with another 7 or 8 of them this year, so I'm excited to go back again.
Awesome. Wyatt, you made a ton of new friends. He was the social guy.
At camp, there was some other church that I met, and they were like on the same floor as me and everything. So we kind of became friends, and I kind of wanted to join their church, but it was an hour and like 30-minute drive just to even get there. So.
Yeah, that church was in St. Cloud, and it's a Catholic church. So we're going to keep you. We're going to keep you. So there's significant experiences that happen, and Izzy wanted me to share this with you. Her most significant and favorite part of camp was lighting a candle during the Kairos service during high school week and sitting in silence. I felt God's arms around me. I always knew that God was real, but this was the first time I really felt it. And Grace, her favorite part of camp was the food and the messy fight and smushing, is her words, smushing shaving cream into people's faces, and she loved the music during club. Why don't you all share something favorite from camp that you want to?
Mine's probably listening to music during club. The band there is really good, and there's some like really slow songs that at the end the band will like stop playing, so it's just everybody singing, and it's really like powerful and moving.
I really liked covering everybody everywhere in shaving cream.
I liked the messy fight because it was fun because you got to cover people in shaving cream.
I liked the messy fight.
It was cool.
All right. And the last question for these guys to really think about is, where did you see God at camp? Scarlett saw God in the friends that she made at camp and the summer festival staff that knew her name within 5 minutes. Actually, was it Wyatt? You said, how do they know my name? Well, they do look at all church rosters and kind of, not memorize names, but kind of get familiar before we even get there. And so somebody called you Wyatt, and how did they know me? So, anybody want to say? Oh, Annika needs Where did you see
Okay,
God?
mine's also in the summer festival, like in the staff, because I got out of the car on the first day, and the last 2 years I've missed the first day of camp, but I've always driven down the second day. And so then this year, being down there on the first day, and I got out of the car, and right away, 2 of them were right up by the car, and both of them go, "Oh my goodness, you're back!" And it was so fun seeing all of them, and then on the last day, getting hugs from some of them and saying that they hope they see us next year.
Awesome. Lily?
Kind of like Scarlett said, I saw it in like the friends I made, or well, most of them I had before, but it was like Cassidy, Melina, Grace, and Aaron. I really got to spend more time with them, and it was really cool to have friends.
All right. So something I forgot to do at the very beginning, it just occurred to me. Wyatt, I want you to tell everybody your name and what grade you're going into. We'll do that down the line. So I forgot
My
to
name
introduce
is
them.
Wyatt, and I'm going into 7th grade.
My name is Soil, and I'm going into 8th.
My name is Melina, and I'm going to 8th.
My name is Cassidy, and I'm going into 8th.
My name's Lily, and I'm going into 8th.
My name's Annika. I'm going into 11th, so I'll be a junior.
That happened fast. So, anything else before we go? Thank you for letting us share our stories from camp with you, and I would love for you to give these kids a round of applause. All right, you can just sit down.